I may be broke, but I'm never too broke for new comics. Howdy, I'm Kurt Williams, and I know it's been a while since one of my regular videos, and that's partly because I don't have enough of a budget to spend on all the comics I want to talk about, but it's also because I'm putting a lot of time into my Every Comic Shop in Michigan videos, of which part 2 is still coming out soon. I've also had a hard time settling on one comic shop because I had to move across the city, so I had to find a new shop all over again, and there's a couple options, but they both have their flaws, and it's just not the same. But anyway, because my budget is a little bit smaller, I've had to kind of focus in on the stuff that I know is going to be worth collecting. So the first issue I've got is Blood Hunt issue 4 by Jed MacKay and Pepe Larraz. I love Pepe Larraz's art, and Jed MacKay's writing has been alright. The event started on a really great note, and I've only read issues 1 and 2 so far. I haven't cracked open issue 3, but I'm always buying the red band version because it has some extra material. I feel like it's a more accurate depiction of Jed MacKay's vision of the story. There are a bazillion tie-ins, and I'm not buying any of them. I just want to read the main story and see how that holds up by itself, and I'm hoping that when it's over I can make a video about the best Marvel events and see if this is on that list. So if you'd be interested in something like that, let me know. Next up, we got issue 23 of Department of Truth. James Tynion and Martin Simmonds are back at their title after a little bit of a break. This is their classic conspiracy title. I love it. It does tend to be a little bit complicated, so I might wait for a few issues to come out before I start tackling the story. But this is an example of two iconic creators with a clearly shared vision and perfect execution. It's a great series. Next up, it's issue 6, the final issue of Rare Flavors. That's by Ram V and Filipe Andrade. This has been a really unique series that has a lot to do with cooking and also cannibalism, and it has a ton of culture packed in there. It's full of introspection and life lessons, and now that it's over, I would recommend buying the trade when it comes out because this is a great story that you'll want to have on your bookshelf. Then I've got issue 9 of The Sacrificers. That's by Rick Remender and Max Fiumara. This is another great title. Rick Remender is awesome as always, and Fiumara's art is just gorgeous to look at. The world building is just astonishing. I'm a little behind on the series, but I'm looking forward to catching up because the character work is excellent, the visuals are excellent, it's overall a very enjoyable comic. Next up, we got issue 2 of Gromit. That's by Rick Remender, Bryan, Posehn, and Brett Parson, and issue 2 even comes with an endorsement from Tony Hawk. This is a fun, relatively lighthearted story about some reject skater kids living in South California in the 1980s. I wouldn't say that it's my favorite Rick Remender story ever, but it is a lot of fun, and you can tell that it's a very personal project. He's put a lot of himself into this story. Next up, from Ghost Machine, we got issue 3 of Redcoat. That's by Geoff Johns and Bryan Hitch, two of my favorite creators with a concept that I love. I really liked issue 1, and I haven't had time to read issue 2 yet, but issue 3 looks just as good as issue 1. It's one of those secret history of the United States type stories with an artist who was famous probably 10-15 years ago, but he's got that style that's very detailed. They're really building a whole universe with this unnamed thing from Ghost Machine, and I'm really excited to see where that takes us. Also from Ghost Machine, we got issue 3 of Rook Exodus. That's by Geoff Johns and Jason Fabok. This is another great series. It's kind of sci-fi dystopian. I also haven't had time to read issue 2 of this series, but just by flipping through this issue, I can tell you that there are giant turtles with giant guns on their backs, so that's pretty cool. Next, I got issue 4 of Animal Pound. That's by Tom King and Peter Gross. I also have not had time to read issues 2 and 3 of this series, but I loved issue 1. I made a review about it. It's kind of a retelling of Animal Farm, but it has some updated elements to it, and it also has to trim a lot of fat to fit into the comic format. If you like comics that star animals, or if you like American literature, then this is the comic for you. Next, I've got issue 10 of Void Rivals. That's by Robert Kirkman and Lorenzo de Felici. I'm still collecting this series, even though I've only read about 3 issues. I'm still collecting each issue, and I've been working my way through the Energon universe slowly. I finally read all of Duke and Cobra Commander, and I've started to read Destro. Next up, I'm going to finally get through Void Rivals and see if it gets better over time, because I wasn't very impressed by the first few issues. Everybody else is saying it's really good, so I figure it's worth collecting. Then I've got issue 11 of World Tree by James Tynion and Fernando Blanco. This is another one of Tynion's more complicated stories. I really enjoy it best when I can read a few issues at a time, because not a whole lot happens in each issue, and there's a whole lot of narrative that you gotta keep track of. But it's creepy and futuristic, kind of in a similar vein as The Nice House on the Lake, but I do like The Nice House on the Lake more. Next, I've got issue 10 of Daredevil. That's by Saladin Ahmed and Juan Cabal. And Juan Cabal's art looks pretty similar to Aaron Cooter's art, who was previously on the series, but it doesn't have quite the same charm to it. If you saw my review of issue 8, then you know that I'm not really loving this series. It feels like I'm rebooting way too far back in Daredevil's history. Knowing how rich Daredevil's storytelling has been in the past, this just feels like kind of a pale reflection of the character. I don't really know why I'm still collecting it. Maybe it's just a sense of completion. I definitely don't collect it for these John Romita Jr. covers, which are not good. Oh, and I didn't even notice, they're $5 per issue now. You know what? I'm gonna drop Daredevil. And the last issue I've got is issue 3 of Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives. That's by Dan Watters, Ram V, and Matthew Roberts. I also haven't read issue 2 of this series yet. I didn't love issue 1 if you saw the review of that, but I love the movie and I want to believe that it can get better. So I'm collecting the series because, what, it's only gonna be 4 issues or something? This one also doesn't feel like it's really worth $5 per copy, but at least I know it's gonna go somewhere, whereas Daredevil could go on forever and ever and never end. You might notice I did not pick up the latest issue of Something is Killing the Children, and that's because that's the only series I'm collecting to trade paperback versions of, because my girlfriend likes it, but she doesn't want to read the individual issues, so I gotta get the trades. But that's a great series too, and if you're not picking that one up, you should be. So I would love to be making more videos more often, and hopefully I'll get back to that as soon as this Every Comic Shop in Michigan video part 2 is done. But I'm also toying with the idea of making my own comic strip. Something easy and fast, but fun. Maybe I'll do a live stream sometime where we can chat about that. Anyway, thanks so much to all my new subscribers. We've had so much growth on the channel lately. It's been way faster than usual. It's awesome. We're gonna be doing the channel's first giveaway soon. I just have to get a couple more issues so that I can offer you this really great giveaway. So until next time, if you read it, what did you think?